Welcome to a Sunday live Q&A. People have questions. Hopefully I have some answers for them. If not, I'll just talk about the random things I'm working on. I know this was a little bit short notice. I try to plan these a little bit more in advance. And I got hyper-focused what I was working on and doing some stuff. The next thing you know, I was like, live stream time. And here I am. So welcome to all of you that can join me on this Sunday. I need to do them probably earlier on Sunday. I think that helps get out some of the people in Europe because so frequently I do them in the evening, or maybe I should do my vlog Thursdays earlier in the day to land those. I actually like having the different audiences and different crowds. Last Thursday, though, was interesting. I had set up, and I plan to do more of these, a Jitsi meetup. And Jitsi meetup, I don't know what we're going to call it, maybe Tom's Lab Time or something, but I wanted something that I wanted an event, if you will, a gathering of people where it was more than just me talking. So other people had an opportunity to do some Q&A and ask questions, etc. And it went really well. It was really cool to, like have the conversations one-on-one, not really one-on-one. It was a group. I think there was about 35, 40 people. So yeah, it was pretty cool. But what happened with RustDesk? Well, lots of confusion, apparently. That was one thing I realized is people seem to have a lot of questions about RustDesk. And I was like, wow, I think they just had a hard time understanding it. Well, let me pull up this. So I did a video on RustDesk, and I guess some people are just confused. There was some people angry because I apparently promoted a app based in China. And it turns out people, and I guess it's a common mistake, Singapore's not in China. I don't know. I thought that was a known thing. Apparently, some people don't have Google and complained about that. There was lots of complaint telling me it doesn't have 2FA, but it does. And I thought that was an odd complaint. Matter of fact, I think we can show in the web client. This is kind of cool that they have a web client, by the way. But if you go in the web client, I think you click the same three dots. Yeah. And if we go down here, does it have the same security settings? No, the web client does not have the same security settings. I'd have to show it in a regular client. But yeah, no, there was definitely some people who don't like RustDesk or looking for reasons not to like it. So I thought, why not mention it in a video or mention it in the live stream in case I can do some clarifications. Yeah. Without free signed clients for deployment, RustDesk isn't great for business. And I said I used it in my lab. I never really said it's the best tool for business. Matter of fact, it's mostly, and as I pitched it, a Homelab thing. We use a commercial product called Screen Connect. That's, I'm not swapping Screen Connect out for RustDesk anytime soon. But people go, hey, I'd like to be able to. And my use case is, it seems silly for me. And I have commercial licenses for Screen Connect. We use it for our businesses. But I don't really want to go all the way out, log in a Screen Connect just so I can control some Windows machines. It didn't seem logical. So I said, why not use RustDesk and give it a try? And I've been playing with it for a while. And I said, this is pretty simple. This allows me to locally control with minimal effort my local Windows machines. Dead simple. Matter of fact, it makes it easy for me to control them from my desktop here, from my I have a MacBook Air that when I'm out of the office, I use. It's kind of it's the only really travel thing I have is just that. So I remote back in and it works. It was like, this is just simple. Maybe other people would enjoy it, but apparently, yeah, enjoy it. Some did, and some thanked me, and some were pretty upset by it. So I like RustDesk. I feel is first one that I was able to fully use. I liked it for its simplicity. That because I know there's Mesh Central. It looked like a little bit more in-depth setup. I'm not saying Mesh Central is bad. RustDesk was dead simple, and I like dead simple. That was just easy for me. It made sense. And by the way, this is something else, and I didn't really even think about this in terms of, I probably should have put it in a video. You can use RustDesk without ever setting up the Docker side of it. Docker makes it easier, but you can type in IP addresses with RustDesk. You can configure it for direct IP access, and then you can just open up the client and connect to another client directly via IP. It doesn't need to use the RustDesk server. The RustDesk server itself is so tiny, it makes it easy to use it. That way you don't have to even track what IPs are there. You can just throw RustDesk, it'll keep registering. But yeah, it just was I didn't find it to be troublesome to use at all. And like you said, it's really simple. I have no idea what the Singularity Marketplace is. So, I mean, I could Google that, but since I don't know what it is, I don't have an opinion on it. Setting up a new UDM Pro for a company, and I need to port forward IPsec ports to a VPN on their Synology. On the interface is Network 9, says I can't port forward because those ports are reserved. Interesting. I've never tried to forward IPsec through a UDM. So maybe open up a ticket. I've never tried to do it, so I don't have an answer for that. Based on your content, is your company moving towards UniFi instead of pfSense? No, it's just another thing in the offering. And I wanted to highlight the fact that UniFi has really come a long way, and UniFi's finally got a good firewall option. So it's another option to throw in the mix. It's not necessarily a replacement. Like, oh no, this is something that people really get stuck on. Computers are binary. Choices are not. You do not have like only one thing. I mean, maybe some people do. Maybe some people simplify everything to they only make a single offering and stay with it. But I've been generally a person who has multiple offerings, and it depends on the client's use case and what fits their needs. So it's just like another offering. But I've still, even this year, have done pfSense videos. What happened when TrueNAS storage disconnected with 2 XCP-NG hosts? I mean, I don't know that. What happened is whatever happened. I don't know. I'm assuming you mean your storage has disconnected, and I don't know why. You'll have to start troubleshooting it. Aren't there hardware or VMs that don't work with RustDesk, Raspberry Pi, with Ubuntu? There are some Wayland issues with it. The Wayland is in beta. Someone said there's a way to change something to fix it. That was in the comments, because I mentioned I tried it and it didn't work. But the other side of that is I tried it, it didn't work, but I don't ever need to recontrol Linux desktops. So it's completely a non-issue to me. I only need it for Windows desktops. And I know I could enable RDP on every Windows desktop. I just don't feel like it. That would be another workaround. But I'm fine using, I thought RustDesk was just like an easy solution. But when it comes to remote control for Linux, yeah, even Screen Connect has a lot of bugginess for remote controlling Linux. Remote controlling Linux is not the same in terms of like the UI. There's probably better tools, but I never need to get to a Linux desktop. I always want to get to a SSH. When all my Linux servers is like SSH in. The only systems running Linux that I need to get a UI is my desktop. And I never want to get back to my desktop. I feel that's too big of a security risk to let someone get back to my desktop remotely. There's a port of RustDesk for the Pi. Interesting. In TrueNAS, should I create a separate data set for every host path, or do I just make one data set called the app name and put everything in there? I worry about slowing things because I could have so many. It's not going to be slow if you have so many. I generally like everything organized, so I create a data set for each application. That's my preference, because each data set you can build different rules for. That way all my applications can have rules based on the data sets. That's my preference. But if you're running 100 apps, that is 100 data sets. It's not going to slow the system down. It's just going to be 100 data sets to manage. Hey, Tom, hope you're doing well. There aren't a whole lot of self-hosted WAF options for Homelab. Has Bunker Web been on your radar? I know it exists, and I think my friend Jim did a video on it. So he's used it. I haven't. I would trust his opinion. Yep. Jim did a video on it. So I would trust Jim's opinion. Smart guy. He's a friend of mine. I will share his video in the thing. But yeah, check out this guy, Jim's Garage. He did a video on Bunker Web. So I'm sure he's a smart guy. He would be the one that would know more about it. I think he's the only one I know that's done a video on it. The post thing after went pretty good. Singularity is a marketplace. Right of the dashboard featured in your own ads. Well, I didn't feature anything about Singularity Marketplace. That's an, oh, that's a, oh, you're asking about Sentinel-1. Okay. Yeah, that's a feature in Sentinel-1. I don't, if you have a business question about Sentinel-1, you can post in my forums. I don't understand what you're asking now. Have you made videos for XCP and how to repair it? Yeah, I did some admin tip videos, so I think that would help. I guess normally you just reload it and restore from backups. Of course, I had someone reach out to me for consulting that lost 32 VMs because they had no backups and they lost their data store with no backups. They wanted me to recover it. I'm like, I don't have a way to recover it because of the way you deleted it. They deleted and formatted an iSCSI data store and we're like, can we get the data back? And I'm like, no, not the way this was set up. And unfortunately, they had no backups for 32 production VMs. I got nothing. JBOD with more than 25 bays. Seems like something missing from the Homelab market. I would say 45 drives, but I mean, they're not cheap. If you're looking for used, there's definitely boxes out there. Matter of fact, I will pull this up real quick because let me find a photo of it. They're made by NetApp. I don't know the exact model, but if you look, I can show you what they look like. Where is it at? Well, it's just probably easier to show you. But NetApp makes one. It's not top loading. It's a slide in. You can find these for pretty cheap. So that might be an option for you. Let me find it on eBay maybe so I can find the model number. Oh, there's one. But yeah, these are popular. This one's obviously super expensive. I would look for a cheaper one. Can you recommend a solution for hyperconverged storage for XCP and buy some Dell servers? Not really sure. Splashtop seems consistent for remote control Linux desktop. It's been a while since I looked at Splashtop. Disconnect TrueNAS storage. I mean, internet or it's break. What happened to the host VM? Can you make a demo on how to repair? You just reconnect it. So I'm even more confused. You know, I will be right back. I got to go grab something. So one moment. Let me find my be right back button. I will be right back. Perfect timing. All right. Disconnect TrueNAS storage. I mean, with no internet or it breaks, what happened to the host VM? You just reconnect it and recover the host VM. Like, maybe I'll demonstrate that. I'm not sure your question. Post in the forums and I'll give a more detailed answer. But you can just, if it gets disconnected, you can just reconnect it. The VMs break because they're left in an unknown state. Like, if I powered off my TrueNAS, it'll break the VMs that are running. But just like when you power down a system, when it reboots, it'll run through a system check on that system and repair. I'm looking for a solution like ConnectWise. We use Ninja One. Is it possible to add a second NIC to my Chasm server and route specific traffic through it? I don't know if that's anything built in, but it's all Docker on the back end, so you could probably make it happen. I don't think there's any specific routing facilities in it. Hey, someone else likes Ninja RMM as well. Ninja One is the company, Ninja RMM is the product. Any recommended software to back up TrueNAS shares to the local machine? I back up TrueNAS to TrueNAS. That is the easiest way through ZFS replication, but you can use rsync. That's another way to do it, is if you're looking for something built in. UniFi alarm system sounds interesting. I don't have any opinion on it. Does UDM Fortress Gateway see client Google search only in USA? Only if you install certificates. So the only way that works in the Fortress Gateway is you have to install a certificate so you can do SSL inspection. So it's not about geography. It's about if you have an SSL cert, it can see all of the traffic. I saw your video about Cloudflare tunnels. I don't have a domain. If I don't want to spend anything, is it better to use a VPN like WireGuard to access my local network? I always tell people to put things behind a VPN. That is just my default. Like, always start there. Very rarely should you open things, only when you really, really feel comfortable doing it. NetBird overlay VPN versus Tailscale. At this very moment, I'm using Tailscale, but I've gone back and forth between them. I tore down my NetBird server and I want to rebuild it again, so maybe I'll go back to using NetBird. But as of right now, I'm using Tailscale because I don't have to maintain any extra infrastructure. But maybe I'll go back to using NetBird. I like both. Do you recommend using HDDs for Plex? NVMe cache will help it, right? Also, max hours HD. I don't understand your question, but generally speaking, I don't think I mean, I guess you could use some other drives for caching, but if you're just watching movies on Plex, even in 4K, they're not 4K streamed over the time it takes to watch a movie. You're generally not exceeding what a hard drive can do. So caching it is not going to make a significant viewing difference. That's not a demanding workload. Now, if you're trying to say, no, I have like 100 people that want to watch 4K movies simultaneously, well, all right, caching server starts making sense. But if it's only 1 or 2 people watching movies on the server, it doesn't make as much sense. TrueNAS scale question: have you ever faced issue where the file in a data set was corrupted and ZFS snapshot for that specific file was also corrupted? No, I have not. The problem, though, if you have a file that's corrupted, unrelated to ZFS, it doesn't matter what operating system, if it's been corrupted for a long time, it's corrupted. And snapshots won't fix that unless you knew a time that it wasn't corrupted and you roll back to that snapshot. So have I had files that are just broken and because someone wrote them wrong, someone was doing something dumb and corrupted a file, and even going back, I had to go back like maybe, a month or two. That's happened. But sometimes people don't keep a month or two. Sometimes people only keep 30 days of snapshots. So if someone copied a corrupted file, ZFS doesn't know it's corrupted. So I've not had a failure in terms of the snapshot not reverting back. But sometimes files are corrupted and it's unrelated to ZFS. Forwarded ports to Nginx Proxy Manager at NPM. Use streams before RustDesk ports to RustDesk. But client won't connect from outside. Is there anything I need missed? I don't know why you would put Nginx Proxy Manager in front of RustDesk. So I don't know. I've not tried it, and I don't have a use case where I would want Nginx Proxy Manager unless I'm using the web version, the pro version of RustDesk. Skip Cloudflare tunnels, 0 to Tailscale. I mean, Cloudflare tunnels makes sense when you want to open something to the outside world, but kind of as I just said, I prefer, like, there's nothing open on my entire lab. I just VPN in and I'm happy. I feel more comfortable with that. I mean, I have things in the business world that, yes, I'm definitely opening up. That's a different topic, but the business world is like, sometimes I have to have things open to the world. Uh, yes. When my VMs NAS rebooted, all my VMs file system went into read-only mode. Ubuntu. Yep. Yeah, you have all kinds of fun things that happen. If you just reboot the NAS and you don't shut down the VMs, for example, I like Graylog. Graylog uses it used to be Elastic. I think it's called OpenSearch now. OpenSearch will go into read-only mode. So Graylog actually booted, but OpenSearch is telling me everything was read-only, and then it causes a new problem because it starts putting everything into a queue until you run some commands to clear the problems with the database. So yes, until you fix, there's always weird things that happen when you lose storage. You said you worked on XCP-ng with infra up to 2,000 VMs. Was XO able to back up everything, or did you need XO proxies? I think they had, because it was spread across multiple sites. They had several proxies. It was not in a. They had a couple. I think it was across 2 sites. So whenever you have it on another site, you definitely are using XO proxy. That, or at least you should be. I know people that do things without it, and bad ideas. Currently using ZFS replication, my new TrueNAS. Awesome, fantastic. Can I back up an NFS folder on TrueNAS that handles XCP or I must use an orchestra for backup? No, you can back it up, but it makes less sense. You may as well use an orchestra for backing up. It's easier because the VM doesn't contain the metadata. Zen Orchestra grabs all the metadata. So if you don't grab the metadata, you're going to have a harder time restoring it. Can I buy the SSL to use in my home, or is it illegal? Do I require a business number? To my knowledge, you can do SSL inspection in your home. I don't know your country's laws, but in my country, there's no rules against it. And you don't have to buy an SSL. You take the SSL certificate the UniFi Dream Machine creates, and then you have to put that on all the systems. Any idea how to get the Open SRT protocol to one specific website for a streaming on UniFi? No, not something I've ever tried. During disaster recovery and spinning up a VM offsite, would you use OpenVPN to tunnel a VM2 to a remote network? Spinning up a VM offsite, would you use OpenVPN and TUN? No, I don't know why I would do that. So maybe I'm not understanding your use case. I'm trying to like DD and Pro, but VPN requires radius, whereas pfSense uses LDAP. pfSense is so much easier. I find VPN really easy inside of the UDM. I mean, the radius server is built in, so I don't really have any issue with it. Let me go to my EFG. Like when you want to build OpenVPN inside of here, go here, VPN, and I already have a test server set up. But yeah, you just add the users. There, we've added a couple users. Like, even if you want to use an external radius server, you can, but you just add the users, set it up, and away you go. There's really nothing to it. And if we wanted to delete and create a new VPN, let's delete this one. This is all test stuff. Then we go OpenVPN for YouTube. I'm sharing this, right? Yeah. And add. There we go. We created a new one. It's really simple. I don't know. I find their VPN now. There is some downsides compared to pfSense. One of them is, and I don't like this at all. Did you notice there's no way for me to tell it what networks to push? Yeah, it pushes all of them. So that's not something I think is a great idea. You have to. There's not any way that I've seen, at least through the UI right now, that will let you say only send these networks over OpenVPN. So that is a big disadvantage compared to pfSense, the lack of granular control. Do you have a video on attaching existing storage disks and data sets in TrueNAS? My TrueNAS server needs to be replaced. Attaching existing storage and data sets in TrueNAS. I mean, you can import another pool. You just open up the pool and import it. So if that's the question, it works. I think I've done that before. I think there was one where I show you how to import the pools, but you can just import the pools. If you have a group of drives, you can just import them. And as long as if you had encryption, only if, you have to have the key as well from the previous system that set it up. What's your opinion on Tailscale and using the Tailscale server versus Headscale in terms of security? Concern about third party and the loop overblown. I mean, Tailscale or many of these other companies base their reputation on being trusted. So is it overblown? I mean, anytime, and this is a risk matrix you have to build. What am I using? And who's involved in the usage of that? You know, to some extent, I have a lot of faith put into people at Pop OS. That's part of my trust circle because Pop OS is what I'm running on my desktop here. And I also have some trust, for better or worse, placed in Google because I'm using Google Chrome. And I also use Firefox. So I also have to trust Firefox and Chrome not to ship me software that could have problems. And at some point, do you or do you not want to add trust to Tailscale? you're kind of including them in there, but you got to figure out what trust you're including. First, they develop the client. So even if you're using Headscale, that client gets its updates from Tailscale. So if they were going to do something nefarious, would they inject it into the client? There's a question. The other side too is if someone got into the control panel for your Tailscale instance, what would they be able to do? Does being on the network cause that much of a problem for you? If you're someone who has poor security controls or weak security controls on your internal network, yeah. And for example, I lock everything down on my network. I put passwords on everything. Being on the network doesn't give you carte blanche access to things. So it gets you the potential to start seeing web interfaces, but those web interfaces have passwords better than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a layered security approach. So just my thoughts on it. Hello, Tom. I'm planning to get a U7 AP. Can you review one of them? The reason people complain, and it's not a review of that, and I can't. The problem also is it's really hard to review this. We'll go over here, Wi-Fi. Share this tab instead. Throw it up here. The new models, they have a button right here. Actually, can I do learn more? Oh, cool. They do. They have a whole site on this. The problem is some of the new models have, and it's not really a UniFi problem. You'd have this problem in general with brand new U7 devices. The older crappy IoT things seem to have connectivity problem. I talked about this before when I was doing my firewall video. People are like, where's all your IoT? I'm like, why would I have a bunch of IoT? Like, I have a Roomba, so I guess that's IoT, but the Roomba seems to connect fine without checking that box. I don't have a lot of random things that are Wi-Fi. And I guess if you do, that's part of the reason I can't really give you a fair shake on a test, because I would tell you, hey, look, it connects to my Roomba. And you're like, but Tom, I have this weird thing I ordered off Amazon. And so I go, oh, well, that's different. I'm not sure what to say about that. So that's why it becomes a lot harder to test. But I do have the, where's it at here? I actually have one of the E7s, and everything seems to connect perfectly fine to my E7. So I haven't had any problems with it. Right in like here, there's the Roombas that are connected. They called iRobot, an Android device, and a Raspberry Pi. Greetings, Eugene. It has been a while. In case a small business with server ADDNS, if you want test recovery in the VM, cloud provide these services remotely. If in the case of small business with ADDNS DHCP, no, you don't want layer 2 going across the VPN unless you just want a terrible experience. Well, I even use OpenVPN server on UniFi if there's Tailscale. Tailscale doesn't exist on UniFi. pfSense allows for split tunnel and all sorts of great traffic engineering. Though I've wondered about editing OpenVPN file, the list of remote nets, I believe, where split tunnel routes are configured. Yeah, the gateway setting inside the gateway settings are inside the, whether or not you want to force it all out the gateway is inside the OpenVPN config file. You are correct. It's about a practice to push all routes and IP tables after. Yeah, but I don't think that's the best way to do it with OpenVPN. Can you add AI Mac Minis to a library face recognition and so Google and Apple? I really don't know. I don't use any Mac Minis. XCPG is hosting Windows Server 2016 for the file server, but the VMs keep removing shared folder every time I reboot. That sounds like a Windows problem. I don't understand. I'm not a big Windows expert, so I'm not sure what problem you're having with Windows. Maybe post in the forums or post in some of the Windows forums. I am not a Windows I'm kind of Windows dumb. Nope, sync things syncs all the time. I don't you can pause it. So I mean, if you're asking about can you pause the syncing? Yes, you can. Let me pull it up real quick. So if I were to go here and pick a site, let me find a site to pick. Oh, I picked the TrueNAS local one here. There we go. So if I were to go here and pick a site on my, let's share this one, I can pause it. So there is a pause option if that's what you're looking for. If you don't want it to sync, and that's not exactly on demand sync, it syncs all the time until you tell it not to. You could just stop the service as well. What's your opinion on running TrueNAS and VMware? I tell people not to virtualize TrueNAS because it generally becomes more of a problem. People do it all the time. It can be done. My preference is to run it on bare metal. If you were to ask the developers, they'll tell you run it on bare metal. Can it be virtualized? Yes. Can you have a good experience if you pass through the controller card? Yes. But yeah. Looking to migrate from Windows Server UniFi controller to Linux using Debian, what would cause the adoption not to occur? Generally speaking, just not being set up properly in terms of, you know, one, did you do a backup restore? I guess that's the first question, because if you're restoring the backup, it should work. But if they're a different IP address, it may not work. You may want it to be the same IP address, or if you're using DNS, make sure the set and form is proper and update the DNS to point to the other server. You can, I have moved them many times for people, but they're always looking for their whatever told them the set and form. So set and form had a DNS entry, which is ideal, the way you should be doing it. Make sure the DNS entry of the Linux server matches. I just got a U7 Max, and the 6 gigahertz band had issues with high TX retries, upwards of 90%. And the only device refused to connect is the Samsung S23 Ultra. Interesting. Do you have a Graylog setup video? Absolutely. I've got an entire tutorial, and all my Docker compose files are on my GitHub, and I keep them up to date. So I've had to add a couple things to them since I did that video. So if you watch my tutorial on getting started with Graylog and you're going, hey, there's a couple extra lines in Tom's compose file. Yes, there is. I added them, and I made sure it's updating now to not version 6, but version 6.1. How do you optimize self-hosted unified network? Experience some lags, experience when trying to search clients. Most of the problems I find with people setting these up, it's crazy that they want to pay my rates for consulting, because so many times I look at it going, why are you running this on a 1-core system with 1 gig of RAM? And they're like, oh yeah. And I try to email them ahead of time. Like if people want to book me for consulting, I'm like, if you're not running it on powerful enough hardware, or in one case, someone got an old used computer and loaded Linux on there. The computer was like 12 years old. It wasn't running great because it's a 12-year-old computer. So a lot of it has to do most of the time with having a fast enough system to run it. It doesn't take anything incredibly powerful, but if it's really old and slow, there's one of the first problems that you'll run into. XCP-NG is recommended to use in production. I use it in production all the time. We have large companies we use XCP-NG with. Yes, you can hand edit the file, and I think it's the gateway that I'm pretty sure you just comment out. I can't remember the exact term, but it's the gateway term that says route. It's like gateway something one, where it says route out all the data through the gateway. I've got a demo on Ninja One RMM. I mean, it's older, but you can also sign up for a demo from them. In reference, thinking I have a sync, but don't want the sync. No, it's not like Dropbox where you can do selective syncing. So no, that's not a feature. You generally don't do DR where you do a layer 2 back to the client. That's generally not how it's done. You would probably have them remote into a machine that you spun back up. So you spin up their server, you'll spin up some Windows hosts and set up RDP so they can log in. That's you're not going to try and stretch layer 2 from the uh, from in some cloud site back to the client site. That's not a great idea. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's not a very scalable experience. And there's a reason that the tunnels are not built that way. The more optimal experience is the way I just said. So I should do some torture testing of XCP-ng just to show you what happens. Fair enough. I can do a video like that. Do you have Pop OS on an ISO that you can try on VirtualBox? Would love you. Yeah, you can just download and try it on VirtualBox. It works perfectly fine. Got a two-part question for you. How can I back up my TrueNAS scale system to another local system? And what are your thoughts on Cloud Gateway Max for home? What should I pair it with? The Cloud Gateway Max is great. I don't think there's any problems with it. I'm aware of. I'm trying to remember. Some of my friends, I can't remember which model they got, but I think they got the Cloud Gateway Max. Which one did my daughter get? She's been running. What model does she have? She has the Express. So I gave my daughter the less expensive one, but it worked. That one works fine too. Backing up your TrueNAS to a local system, I guess it depends. My preference is to back up TrueNAS to TrueNAS, but if you're not backing up TrueNAS to TrueNAS, you can back up with rsync. That might be a way to do it. Do I use any HAC integrations with HomeAssistant? I do not. We offer more than we offer more than 2 firewalls. So we are still using some Rocky. We use some pfSense. I think we may have a few people still running 40 nets, and they're up to date. So less of an issue there. But yeah, we don't use a solution. We provide the solutions that fit for the clients. Dell R430 for a Homelab. Sure. It's going to be a little bit power hungry. The 430s are getting a little bit older, but I think I'm not 100% on my Dell models. But I think it's an older model, but if you're fine with the wattage usage of it, it should work. Looking to move my 13-year-old son's computer into his room for his birthday. Any suggestion to keep me out of trouble? Surprise visits in his room. I don't know. There's kids find trouble. They're hard to babysit. Having the computer in the living room sometimes is that was my solution. So it was easier to keep an eye on them. I think Acronis has a DR appliance or something like that over layer 2. It runs a DR instance of server on their own DC. Not ideal though. Yeah, let's say it's not usually what you want to do. Virtual machine inventory management. I have not done a video on it, but what is that tool called? Netbox. Netbox looks pretty cool. So this is on my to-do list to set this up, is Netbox. I've not used it, but it can do some of the VM inventory stuff. And they have the community edition. Hey, it's been a while. Their website's fancy. It was a basic project. I think this is the right one. Imagine. Netbox. Yeah. Oh, there's a GitHub. So there we go. I'll drop the GitHub for people who don't want to search for it. Can you make a video about storage and file systems? What to use on Dell servers with hardware RAID, etc. Install Proxmox, and there's so much of it. I don't know what you should use. I don't use Proxmox, so I'm not likely to do a video on storage and Proxmox. With XCP-NG, it's either ZFS or EXT. Thoughts on nested virtualization? I mean, it works if you need it, depending on your scenario. You know, it. I don't really have an opinion on it. It's if you need it, use it. How would you block applications over a metered site-to-site internet connection? Traffic flows over VPN, so I don't think you can block at the WAN interface. Is the easy solution 2 tunnels? Possibly. Um, I mean, you'll just have to go through and block things at the tunnel level. How you do that is going to depend on what firewalls you're using, but you can block what goes over the tunnels and create a bunch of rules. You have Netbox synced with VMware. It's great to pull info in. It's a third-party plugin. Yeah, XCP-NG supports it as well. And I believe probably Proxmox does. Generally, whenever I find people sticking more than 2 terabytes in a VHD, which, by the way, the updated driver that fixes that's in beta right now, so it should be out later this year in production. But I almost always find a bad storage design. Don't stuff that much data in your VMs. That's I just helped someone solve a bunch of that because of the problems they were having. It's not a great idea. Because you can doesn't mean you should. Matter of fact, I keep all my VMs very slow. My VMs boot and they mount proper storage that can be well managed versus there's no well managing people who put, I think the person had 11 terabytes in a VM. It was a lot. And it just makes it more difficult because when you need to move that somewhere, you're virtualizing a whole file system. You lose performance. You may as well take advantage of things, especially in the ZFS world, and mount something that ZFS on boot of that VM. Makes the VM nice and small. It's also great idea to separate compute and the operating system versus the data that lives within it. I have a whole video on storage design. I made that video because we've done so much consulting where people have made messes of things, and that is among the messes. Do you have any recommendations for redundant DHCP? Recently experienced Pi-hole DNS outage where the failover didn't work because DHCP wasn't enabled in the backup instance. I've not had this problem. I mean, I did a video on high availability. So if you're using, I mean, I've got one for pfSense, HA and pfSense or that, but I mean, you can also set up usually a service. pfSense calls it Watchdog, I think, and you can say, hey, if this service stops, restart it. That's things you can do. So I don't know about a need for a synchronized backup DHCP. So I've never done a video on it. There's probably a way to make it work. I've just never done it. Because the problem is you'll create, if you just start another DHCP server, if it's not in sync with the other DHCP server, it'll hand out addresses that may have already been handed out. So they have to be in sync with each other to work. But I generally don't have DHCP. If your DHCP server is failing, start there to figure out the why. EXT for RAID group or rather virtual disks? There's a bigger topic here. If you're setting this up for the enterprise space, you're going to do something like an external SAN storage, and we can call it TrueNAS SAN. Someone will call it just a standard NAS, whatever. Your storage will generally handle that separately. If you have a Dell server, and I think as you said earlier, you'll take the Dell server and you can just build the RAID array in Dell, and the Dell RAID manager will handle RAID for those drives. That's an acceptable way to do it. The other ways to do it, depending on the system, you can, and this goes both for XCP-NG and Proxmox, you can take a group of drives that you have and build them into ZFS. I have a video on how to do that in XCP-NG. So you load XCP-NG on your boot disks. You can set up a pair of them to be boot, and that can be handled XCP-NG. So like this is my boot RAID. Then you can grab a group of drives and build a ZFS and then store all your VMs inside of a ZFS system. ZFS is really like one of my favorite go-tos because it's such a solid, dependable file system. And it is supported, as I said, in Proxmox and XCP-NG. Is in TrueNAS better to have different data set for each app or all fall under one umbrella? I always put them. I have an apps data set, and then nested in apps is all of the other things that need data sets, all the other apps. Thank you very much. I have been busy making a lot of content lately. Is it true that ZFS isn't recommended on RAIDs? I heard that RAM consumption and how it impacts CPU. As far as I know, ZFS is RAID. ZFS, I have videos on ZFS and how copy on write file system works. ZFS talks to the drives to become RAID, but ZFS should be talking to the drives directly and not through something else. Someone else had commented, I think Allison said you should have the drives in a pass-through mode so ZFS can work. Sorry, I hit it early. I'm on pfSense. My thoughts is 2 tunnels, one for main and one for meter connection. The meter one would have to back up blocks. Is there an easier way? I can't think of a way. That's a weird setup. If you have one metered and one not, and you're gonna need to create rules to push the data across for each thing. Do you agree using Synology for file across 120 people? Yeah, a big Synology. I wouldn't buy the little 2-bay one, but yes, you can. Synology does support. We've got Synology in a lot of businesses. Which firewall solution for the Homelab? pfSense or OpenSense? Sure. I'm partial to pfSense. There's going to be a bunch of people that are going to tell you to go OpenSense. I find pfSense to be more well documented, but of course, the downside right now is pfSense is they're not putting a lot of extra features in the CE version anymore. So it's still getting security updates. It's just not getting feature updates. Well, like I said, you can engineer a solution to have dual DHCP servers. It feels over-engineered compared to, especially if your Pi-hole DNS is also your DHCP. Turns out a small battery will run a Pi, so maybe invest in a small battery. It would be far less in terms of time to. I have what do you call those? Like the little rechargeable battery packs. I have one of those on this thing right here in the back that's got the YouTube symbol on it or logo. That is a Raspberry Pi wireless that updates that, but I can unplug it because it's just running a battery pack that I keep charged. So if I unplug it, it still works. I think it works for like 6 hours or so. So, and it's just some cheap one I got at a trade show. If I were to hook it up to like my Anchor one, it'd probably run for a week. Running TrueNAS and Proxbox now showing an error. Yep, probably. I tell people, I was at a conference a couple weeks ago, and I kind of laughed because it was about setting up your Homelab, and so I went to the talk, and someone right away said, should I virtualize my TrueNAS and all these things inside my hypervisor? And he says, yes, if you love fighting things, if you're a human who just loves fighting, absolutely, it's a great idea. I generally avoid virtualizing TrueNAS. It's just not worth it. I guess if you are so budget constrained, you only have one system, but you really want to learn TrueNAS, be prepared to fight. But yes, it's not an impossible task. I know people that have done it successfully. It just creates complexity. ZFS is the most advanced efficient file system in the world for me, and many others. This was a good discussion 2 episodes ago on 2.5 admins. And if you listen to 2.5 admins, you'll know that they, spend a lot of time talking about ZFS. But there's a reason. Every time another file system comes up, it's like some of the problems with it, or you watch them go out of business or stop getting developed, whatever that may be. There's a reason. I don't like monocultures, but I just don't know what other systems out there that can do what ZFS does. And ButterFS is not quite there. It's not bad, but ButterFS is pretty usable and definitely has its use cases. But yeah, compared to the total feature set of ZFS is pretty awesome. Do you have any information about the versions of pfSense? I have no information on it. No more than you have if you went to Reddit as well. Yeah, battery banks with pass-through charging will work as a UPS as long as the switch quickly. Well, yeah, on a Raspberry Pi, they're really solid. What got you interested in home labbing? You know, I have worked in tech since 1995, but gaming got me interested more specifically in building servers at home and having networks. I mean, my first server at home, which I have a picture of because we pull it up sometimes. Let me find the album real quick. Oh, hold on. My old server from forever ago. And yes, this is actually running some firewall software. So for anyone that's looking, you can see my IP address from this system from, when was this? This is forever ago. 2002. So, okay. Yeah. The date's right here. I was trying to look for a date in here. And there's my system on, taylor1.comcast.net from 2002. And this was my firewall, and my gaming server was sitting next to it. So yes, that's what got me in there. Offline uncorrectable errors on a 428 RAID Z1, degraded VDEV, pulled one drive, tested a win, fail, sent back, replace drive. Now the new drive is also throwing same error, not degrading VDEV. Just run a scrub on it and see if it fixes first. Make sure, well, obviously let it finish a resilver, run a scrub, and cross your fingers. Any idea why UniFi DNS records do not work? Gateway Max is the only DNS server. I was wondering if encrypted DNS settings messing with me. If you're using a browser that is by Firefox or Chromium, they will frequently not use local DNS. And I forget where the setting is. You got to go in and change it, because the browser will go, I'm going to use this external DNS. I'm going to bypass local DNS. That has been a hang up many people have had in a home lab. So check your browser, and also make sure your system is using the UDM as a DNS, or your firewall, your UniFi device as the DNS. My question previously about hyperconverged storage on XCP&G was about what support software they use. XCP&G is called, the hyperconverged side is called ExoStore, and they're using Linbit on the back end. I don't think this is a great idea to do, because you'll have bandwidth problems, but you can do it. I mean, you do it over a VPN, but do you have the bandwidth to get the camera from over there to there? A lot of people don't have the bandwidth for it. Anytime I've seen that setup, and then people start reaching out to me for consulting, like, hey, Tom, I'm having this really poor experience with these UniFi cameras. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And, why are you having all these bandwidth problems? I'm like, oh, well, the cameras are VPN'd. They're in Texas and I'm in Michigan. I want to see all of them. You should probably put an NVR there. No, I want to have them all channeled back. Now, I know someone who has this working. They also have symmetrical 10 gig fiber to pull it off. So it's not that it can't be done. It just is a lot of bandwidth. Oh yeah, that's definitely an old AT case for sure. I mean, this is 2002. If we want to use Proxmox virtualization as a hyperconverge, how do we combine the disks to make server? Ceph is the way Proxmox handles it. What do you think about MikroTik devices, routers? I'm not a big fan of them because of their goofiness. I don't know. Quirkiness might be better. I never use them as a router. There's a learning curve to them, but people that really get into using them really, really like them. They're popular in the wireless ISP space. And I've talked to some people that have dove deep into their ecosystem and understand them well. So they seem to enjoy them. I don't have any particular dislike for them, or I can't tell you why you shouldn't use them, but I will say that the learning curve and documentation, someone said the documentation has gotten better, but sometimes I look, it'd be kind of weird trying to figure some of this stuff out, but maybe I'm wrong and maybe they got the documentation better. Definitely going to be a lot more of a learning curve. We have set traffic policies, bandwidth, burst rate, latency on our WAN, work great with USG Profo. JSON. So far I know no solutions on that. I don't know either. They do have in the UniFi, maybe this might be helpful. They do have QoS settings in here. So you can say, you can do like YouTube, and then we could say a specific network, select the network or a specific device, like we'll say, the Raspberry Pi Tom, destination or application, and we'll say YouTube. Save, and then you could say set the download and upload limit to YouTube. So this is built into UniFi now in version 9. So if this is good enough for what you're trying to do, great. If it's not, then I'm not sure what else you can do. Greetings from Germany. Let's see. What do you think about the Open Nebula project? What is the Open Nebula project? So we go to open source cloud platform. Never used it. Don't have an opinion. Seems to have a nice website. I'm assuming this is what you're talking about, but never used it, so I don't have an opinion. What do you think about MikroTik's ARM server? I haven't really looked at it, so I don't have an opinion on that. Curious anyone's recommendation for password manager. I've been a big fan of Bitwarden, been using it for years. It is self-hostable. Definitely, I think an improvement over LastPass. Have you noticed any rogue AP warnings when you update APs or after you update them? I haven't run into that. Maybe there's some bug in the latest update, but mine are pretty up to date. So happy to see you live again. Rizzy came to the conclusion with a few friends that disk encryption on Linux is a must. However, some systems need to auto boot. Thoughts on Clevis and Tag and TPM2? I don't worry about it that much. I mean, I have disk encryption on my desktop, but on my servers, I don't. On my TrueNAS, for example, though, it is where a lot of the data I do have that I want encrypted lives. You boot the system up and I got to put passwords in to unlock the data sets. That's my solution, but there's probably other solutions out there as well. The restrictions are coming from our ISP, common for fiber drops in Germany. Interesting. Yes, good. I hope the scrub solves that for you. In the new firewalls, does the allow return traffic allow everything or only the established connection that was originally made? It only allows the return traffic based on the initiated connection. So if I initiate a connection from where I'm at to another network, because of the way IP tables works, and I explained that in my video, you have to have an allow return or it won't be able to return traffic. But that return traffic doesn't allow that system to talk to you and initiate it. So no, it's not creating a bidirectional rule. It's just a way for when I initiate, it allows the traffic to come back to me that I requested. Can you see if it'll let you port forward port 500 and 4500? If those are ports for the, what you call it, If they're the, what was it, IPsec ports? Probably not. They're probably reserved. So me 16.16. Just see what happens. You said port 500. So let's oh, it let me do it. Port 500, I can forward. So it worked for me. It doesn't give an error. Huh. You said the other port's 4,500? Let me see which other one you posted. 500 and 4,500. So it's 4500. Sure. Yep. Well, lets me forward that one too. So I can put entries in for that, and it doesn't give an error. But I also don't have IPsec set up on mine. Maybe that's why. I imagine if you had IPsec, it won't work. So if you already have IPsec on your UniFi, I'm going to guess you can't do that. That's my assumption. I have ZSH in my shell. I think very little about it. Some people, it's a religious right to choose your shell, and you will defend why you've chose it with other people. I kind of get that. There's like I'm always like puzzled when I see these YouTube channels. There's a guy who just covers different shell setups, and I'm like, there's a lot of people that watch this. And I mean, all to it, man. If that's your thing, it's not my thing. I was on the Thursday live stream. I mentioned RustDesk. Next day, produced it. Great video in time. Yeah, I'd been playing with it, so. Do you use automation tools like Ansible or Windows DSC to manage Homelab? I do not. The Ansible is probably a good one to use. I just don't automate enough things so that matters to me. We use automation in our business, but not in my Homelab. Is there a way to update the firmware on UniFi UCI self-hosted controller? Update the firmware. I'm not sure what you're trying. UniFi UCI. What is that? Cable internet. I don't know. I've not tested that at all. I don't think you should port forward port 500, leave that side as initiator and only the other side as responder. Yeah, there might be a better way to set up. I mean, I've never played with IPsec with Synology. I mean, maybe even you try looking at Tailscale. That works on Synology too. Any idea why there's no option to install SSL certificates in the OS by default? I found the only complicated manual console. I don't ever have a need to install certificates in my UniFi, so I don't ever use Captive Portal either. That's probably what you're trying to do. Can we get the rest of the application on 2 local servers as an active clustering? I don't think they built it for clustering, so no. I'm not aware of any way to do that. Maybe talk to them if there's some use case for a clustered server, but the reality is it's a really lightweight server, so you probably should just look at, it runs in Docker. You could look at Docker Swarm and build it that way. That's probably the path of least resistance. Build a Docker Swarm. I think they have a way to use it in Kubernetes, so you could build a resilient Kubernetes theme. So those are probably better ways because the system itself that I know of isn't designed for high availability. But restarting it is like instant. So if it failed and had to be restarted on another server, it would be like no noticeable downtime, and it wouldn't disrupt active connections unless they were relaying. At some point, and maybe it's just because I have so many clients. When someone wants to do something that just makes no sense, we we tell them, especially if it's harder, like, this is a terrible idea. We're going to charge a whole lot of money. This is the best way to do it. It's this much to do it the right way. And sometimes we won't even offer doing it whatever way they came up with. It sometimes is better that way. Um, if UniFi console access locally, servers have an invalid cert by default, meaning users are conditioned to accept SL cert issue. Man in the middle is easy. I guess, or just use the UniFi cloud system. That's another option that solves the certificate issue. But a lot of firewalls, pfSense, I mean, yes, you can install a certificate easier in pfSense, but that's a rare thing that people actually take the time to install legit certs on control planes of devices. You can do that in TrueNAS. Rarely is that done. Why does TrueNAS force us to have one IP and one default gateway? Can't migrate across VLANs. Can't manage an interface. That's just a design that they've had for simplicity, and I don't really see it as an issue because the main IP address, and you can set more than one IP on it. I mean, I have multiple IPs on my TrueNAS system. Matter of fact, let's pull my TrueNAS system up. One of those things when your password's so long, you end up really thinking about it. Anyways, so if we go to networking, I have this IP. I'll zoom in a little. This is the storage network IP, and this is the management IP. I only have two on this because that's all I need. Well, you've invited people into your network. So would they man in the middle of you? I don't know. I wouldn't let people who would do that on my network. Howdy, just discovered Cloudflare tunnels. I like it a bit more than exposing things directly or running reverse proxy. Are the precautions I should take when using them? As I mentioned in that video, when I did the Cloudflare tunnels, is you're trusting Cloudflare, so there's a risk there because they are your reverse proxy and they're handling it. And anytime you expose things to the internet or create a path back to your internal servers, you're increasing your risk because you've created a path for people to get back into whatever you've got pointed at there. That's the risk you're taking, is opening things to the internet. Doesn't mean there's going to be a security problem with it, but there could be because you've opened that path. It's convenient though, and that's why people do it. People don't do it because they want to have a security risk. They do it because they want to access something remotely. As I said earlier, my preference is to keep everything behind a VPN, but Cloudflare tunnels, if our business use case, we have plenty of things open because we have to have them open or we can't use them. I don't self-host anymore, but my invoicing system, for example, had to have that open up to there because if you're self-hosting your invoicing system and I want to send people invoices, they want to be able to view those invoices via the payment portal and be able to pay online through my self-hosted. I'm using a company called Invoice Ninja, and that has to be open to the public or people can't get it. UniFi does support DHCP reservations, so you are mistaken about that. They do support it. Yeah, and ideally, when you open something up to the public, you should put it in the DMZ. That would be the ideal place to have it. But, for some people, and this has happened before, they have a service open, someone gets in the service, and then they delete or ransom the files within the service. And especially when you have a lot of flaws, and we're looking at you, QNAP. QNAP's been in the news numerous times for this because they've had a lot of flaws in their product. And people exposed it, and it was called the QLocker ransomware because there was a bunch of bypasses and people automated the ransomware process on QNAPs. And so many people just were exposing their QNAPs to the internet that it became easy. Is there a big reason to use Cloudflare Tunnel and Nginx? I've just been using the tunnel with CNAME records. I see lots of people use both. I don't know why you'd want to use both. I mean, why use 2 reverse proxies? Seems redundant. I'll agree with you I don't understand why, but then again, people like doing it. I guess there maybe is a scenario. I don't even know how that would work, where you have it coming through Cloudflare, then it hits Nginx, and then from Nginx, it redirects somewhere else. It seems like just setting up a couple different tunnels for each something else would be better. You want to filter sites over HTTPS. I would say pfSense and OpenSense are not at all great tools for doing that. There is a third-party add-on that works with both of them called ZenArmor, but it's going to be, the problem is it's just not easy to do, and it's not hard to bypass. So how dedicated are you to actually blocking these things? If you really want to block them, you're going to have to load software on the client. That's the only way. That's how we manage it in the business world. Is we don't try to do it at the firewall because it's kind of a fool's errand because there's always ways around it. But if you're managing the endpoint, then yes. Try searching reservation UI network image. You'll see what I mean. Either I am blind or the unit interface does not contain DH reservations feature. Well, you don't have to search for it. You just go to client devices. And let's go ahead and I'll pull it up in here in a second. Let me find one. Oh, there we go. We'll go here. There's the fixed IP address reservation. So, yep, you just click on the device and check this box, fixed IP address. And then it gets a fixed IP address. I've been trying to figure out, don't fully understand, I need to port forward 8443 to add wildcard records. When you can do it with just as Cloudflare CNAME. Yeah. What software do you recommend? I don't know if they're suitable in your country. We use a tool called Zoros for it. It's a commercial tool. There's nothing inexpensive for about it, though. As an old IP tables firewall user planning on switching Ubiquity Gateway Firewall, are UniFi gateways only cloud administered? Because the idea of running firewall cloud seems like running with scissors. No, you don't have to connect these to the cloud. It's an optional. You can use the Ubiquity cloud interface, but you don't have to. So you can manage them locally. I've talked about that in the videos because it's a common misconception that UniFi is cloud only, and they're not. Is there a way to block applications like AnyDesk, TeamViewer, and pfSense? You would have to know their IP addresses and put blocks in there. So there's no easy way to do it, but if you know the IP address ranges of those things, you could go through and put them all in there. Yes, this is true as well. If you want to add a reservation, you can. There's a button, just like Ben pointed out here. How do you limit WireGuard VPN ingest into a specific external host with zone-based unified firewall rules? I mean, you could create the rules. You would create the rules for when you create a WireGuard VPN, and you would create the rules inside of the zone it attaches to. How does one get on to Tom's LAN? Yes, Tom's LAN is a reserved space for one person named Tom. No other Toms may be on Tom's LAN. So this is my LAN. You have your LAN. uh, would you use QoS? Would you use QoS on a gig down 60 up? UDM Pro can't handle it. No, I'm not using it at all on mine, and I'm having no problems at all. Will you be able to buy JKVM in actual stores, Amazon or whatever? When do you know, like, they've had it money? And I don't know when they're going on sale. I bought mine as part of the Kickstarter, so I don't know when they're going on sale. They haven't told me, at least. Or maybe they did and I just haven't seen. I guess I could Google it, but I'm assuming you did. Go Kickstarter. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when they're going on sale. I don't fully understand your HTTP filtering solution. Could you please share a link? Oh, sure. Just because this is what we're RUS. I'll throw a link in here. Tell him Tom said hi. It is a boring subnet. There's everything has passwords on it, and there's no fun stuff. That's a good question. Wait, hold on. This one. I don't know. I've not really used it. Maybe I'll do a future video on the Site Magic to figure out what zone it attaches to. Potential use case for chaining reverse proxies is more granular path routing restrictions to access certain path. Lots of possibilities. Yeah, I mean, there's that. If you have path restrictions and you're using really advanced, like, hey, when they go slash this or slash this, here's another ACL rule based on this other rule. So yeah, I guess that's a way to look at it. Looking to expose image to the internet. I've not used it, so I don't even know what ports are needed to make that work. Hello, I'm fairly new to UniFi, and some of the ports settings we found can be hard to understand. Do you have a good guide or cheat sheet? Some of the port settings. What port setting are you looking for? I have my recent switch video from PF Sense to UniFi, and I haven't done a getting started video yet, so maybe that would be. I just haven't had time to do that video yet, like getting started with UniFi. But I guess probably you need to know more specific what you're looking for. Any ones you recommend? Yes, absolutely. I keep this up to date as best I can. I believe I just removed someone because I don't find them as effective anymore. But if we go down to my website, lawrencesystems.com, and this is under the things we love. We have books and projects. I got to update this some more, but this is up to date. We have Darknet Diaries, Security Now, 2.5 admins. The open source security podcast is really good. Risky Business and the Art of Network Engineering. Then I got a few YouTube channels listed here. I could probably add more later, but for the most part, these are all people I know. I actually think I know everyone in here personally. I've met I've met them, not always 100% in person. Like, I've never met Christian Lempa, but I've talked to him. I've talked to all these people, and they all have great YouTube channels. But the podcast net, like I said, I keep them on my website, and if that changes, I'm pretty good about updating that. On zone-based firewalls, I set my Pi-hole DNS as the default and didn't allow rule to the networks that needed access it, but DNS. But Thanks for pointing in the right direction for DHCP reservations. URI doesn't make it easy. I don't know. I think they make it too easy. You ever made it so easy it's hard? Because it just says add a reservation. You're not wrong. It does not say DHCP anywhere. So I get it. Like they made it so easy it's hard, because I don't know. It seems like that should be more obvious. Matter of fact, when I look at it, you're right. There's nowhere in here it says the word DHCP. So, and when you do click on a client, it doesn't say it here. It just says, fixed and a mouse over. That's it. It doesn't tell you. I mean, yep. Alias replaces host name in the network. Yep. There's nothing here. You're not wrong. Are you using the UniFi cable modem? Is it worth $350, or should I just get an Air surfboard instead? I'm using what they provided me from my cable provider, so I am not using a third party. You missed 1 hour and 26 minutes of Tom answering questions. I have 2 Pi holes that were previously in sync. Unwisely had a crying job for Pi hole up, upgraded V6 and broke everything. My config was lost. Big bummer. Yeah, I've never tried. It's been forever since I used a Pi hole, so I don't really keep up with the latest thing. I know version 6 came out because I've seen people announcing it, but I don't use the Pi hole. I don't worry as much about ad blocking as other people. I mean, yeah, we all have the browser things that do it, and that's my solution, is just to use the browser stuff. But obviously, it's popular to use, some blocking at the level. I don't know. Maybe I'll play with it at some point. It's not a topic I like talking about on YouTube. YouTube is not friendly to people talking about that topic. Turns out companies that make their money with advertising don't like you talk about how to stop advertising stuff. So I generally stay away from it. There's plenty of content. There's plenty of people on Reddit talking about it and other places and forums. My forums is a great place to talk about it. If I ever did a post about it, it would be in my forums. It would not be on YouTube. Not worth risking getting the channel blocked. Oh, by the way, I guess this is a topic. I am running Fingletooth now. So this is the newest version of TrueNAS. So it's working fine. This is the one. This is experimental, as they're saying. But this has the LXC. So if you create a new instance, you can create Linux containers or VMs. So it's this is neat. I'm still playing with it. So no, there's not a lot I have to say about it other than it's pretty cool. And you can go check out yourself if you want to play with the beta. But yeah, there's some tweaks coming to this. And by the way, they plan to start modifying the configurations to be able to do different IP addresses for your stuff. At least that's what I understand. So I'm excited about it. But yes. I saw you specify network application. I think that would help me a lot. Yeah, I think that's what they're working on. It's not in the beta right now. Let me think. I think the latest TrueNAS podcast, if you follow the TrueNAS, I got to add that to my list. They recently started. They only a few episodes in, but the TrueNAS podcast was pretty good for talking about the new features. Thank you for the answer to the question. I look forward to your new, modern, and different Homelab solutions that will solve different requirements in the future. Absolutely. Is NVMe over IP in the TrueNAS chat? I don't think so. I don't know where that is. I don't think that's going to be real soon. That the NVMe over IP is pretty cool, but I don't know exactly when we're going to get that. Is it possible to run snapshots or backups on the new Docker folders for EEL? I don't see. Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I have not tried that. Where are they stored? I'm going to say no because they're not exposed. So I don't see a way to do it there. And if we go here, I have this one Debian one and I see nothing over here. So let's start it. Yeah, I can get to the shell, but I don't see anything about managing snapshots on it. So I'm going to go with no, that's not a feature. Yeah, it is in mount/docker data or something like that. It's only visible options are in a data set pool. Yeah, I think it's kind of weird the way they do that. So if we go and look, it's under IX apps. So let me make this bigger so people can see it. So, whoops. So app mounts, app configs, all of it's located here. So yes, but I don't see any way to snapshot it. I mean, you can do this from the command line here, but I don't see anything in the UI. I don't know why. I don't know. I guess because it's more of an appliance, they don't want to do that. There was a good discussion on their last, let me find their last podcast because I just watched it. I got to add them because now they're doing this. Where's it? I've lost it. Where did I save that? Or did I? It's not in my history for some reason. TrueNAS podcast. We'll find it. There we go. TrueNAS Tech Talk. I think this is the latest one. Yep. I will share this. Go check them out. Like and subscribe to them. They're doing some great stuff here. Their last one, they talk about appliance versus distro. That is a good topic, and they dive into why they do some of the things the way they do. I have a micro SD card stuck in read-only mode. I tried to format it with FDisk, but no luck. Any tips? It may have gone bad, would be my guess. I don't, not sure. Heard anything bad about the U7 UniFi's APs? Have you faced issues? I've had no issues with them, but I've mentioned earlier, like there's an IoT checklist of compatibility settings if you have older 2.4 things. If you're running older 2.4 things, there may be some problems you run into. Just for, yeah, looking for an easy way to back it up in case there's rollback. I agree with you. Definitely would be a nice feature to have. But one of the things they did that's kind of cool here, maybe set the size so it's not too zoomed in. You can add applications to the dashboard now. So if you have an application set up, you can pop it on the dashboard here. So if we go here and where's the apps? Discover apps. And let's pick something like net data, something quick and easy to install. I'm thinking that, yeah, it doesn't need any options. Would you consider publishing a video entirely about ZFS covering very advanced, especially about ZFS send and tuning and troubleshooting? I've got a whole video on. My videos are more broken apart. So instead of doing one super long ZFS video, the video I have is like why I've explained like how data sets and ZVals work. Or I have ZFS explainers for ZFS in TrueNAS, ZFS send in TrueNAS. I'm not doing any ZFS send command line videos. I just don't really feel like doing it, but I usually cover it with respect to TrueNAS because most of the time people are not going to want to do it from the command line. And the people who are doing things from the command line are usually not just watching YouTube videos or reading documentation. At least that's what I think is happening. And apparently there's been some hardware changes to the newer models, is what's being said here. I don't know. I can't confirm or deny that. My lab environment runs Arch using libvirt bridges. Do you know if I disable hardware checksum offload? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't use Arch, and I'm not using any libvirt either. So now, if only the file browser app can add a trash can, as you delete and it's gone forever. Yeah. Sorry, this is outside topic of TrueNAS. Well, we're not just talking about TrueNAS today. Don't worry. We're talking about anything. It's at the top. It says self-hosted Homelab Q&A. I would like to ask what local DNS you're using. I use the DNS that's built into, right now I'm using DNS built into the UniFi system. And my back itches in case anyone wonders what I'm doing here. But yeah, the DNS built into UniFi is working perfectly fine for me. Like I said, I don't use Pi-hole or anything like that right now. So yeah. See, working on TrueNAS scale right now. Yeah, that's what I was playing with. That's right. I was going to, let's pull that back up. I loaded the app. Let's go back to the dashboard, configure, add. And I think we want an app, and we're going to choose you can choose the application here, like net data, hit save. And now we have net data here. And if we want net data at the top, you can drag like that, save. And now we have net data at the top. And this lets you restart the app, check the app details, brings you to the apps page, which is cool. Or you can go here to view the portal. It'll bring me over. It opens up another window with the portal in it. So yeah, I like the new, so far it's really stable so far. I haven't had any problems with it at all. Yeah, I am itching my back with a patch panel. This was the demo panel. There's not much on my desk right now, but this has just been this convenient back scratcher because it's plastic, so it doesn't really, it scratches just the right way. And yeah, so yes, I do use a patch panel as a back scratcher because it's here. Still using Surveillance Station. What's the biggest deployment you've done on them? I have a preferred alternative vendor for large enterprise cameras. So I am really impressed. And I put this on Twitter. I am really impressed with the UniFi stuff, but I still like the Synology. It's been solid. I don't know the biggest. I don't know the biggest deployment, maybe 100 cameras or so. But definitely, where's the thing that you guys will want to know? This right here. This is with the UniFi camera. Bring this up. First, I just want to show you what it is because no one's going to get a kick out of this. It is. First, it's just hysterical. See, I don't know if that's big enough that you can see what it is. I'll throw the link here for anyone just wants to view it. The most amazing part isn't that they had this dolly on here. I'm getting to why this matters about UniFi. It's that they made it over the railroad tracks down there. I know it's hard to see. Those are railroad crossing. They made it across the railroad tracks. Blew my mind. All right, let's talk about the. Let me switch. Hold on. But back to UniFi. This is the feature I wanted to talk about. Is you can search, and I know this is. I'm gonna pull up I think I got a couple images here because someone was asking about this, and I have a few more replies. Where's the other one? Here's one too. Let me go ahead and share each one. The new UniFi system has the ability to describe what's in there. And I was doing a search for vehicle with trailer, and you notice there's a bunch of things pulled in background. This is the new AI key. This is just a cool feature. The AI key will describe all, it goes back through previous recorded events and does descriptions of them and decides what's in them. And I thought this was funny. And I want people to realize what the system did here. It says a man that is holding a can of beer in his hand. Think about that for a second. How does it know I'm holding a beer? It doesn't say soda. It doesn't just say can. It recognized that brand and said, that's a beer, not a soda. So yes. Also, yes, it is bingo right here. It is a washer dryer combo on a dolly. At least we call them a dolly here in the US. Someone may have another word for them, but yes, it is definitely a washer dryer. And that is a thing that happens. So yes. But yes, it is good at what it does. Now it's not perfect. And there's a joke in here somewhere because I was also searching for a garbage truck and it found garbage trucks, but it also kept showing me Ford trucks just in general. There were other trucks that I could find by searching for truck, but it also found when you typed in garbage trucks and Ford pickup trucks. And I'm like, there's just a joke in here somewhere that the AI's training is a little off, but I found it hysterical. So that video I might have done next week because I've been testing this in production environments and making sure it works, but it finds things. It sometimes gets it wrong, but overall it really works well. Like it's better than not having it. Is it perfect? No. Occasionally, for example, and I don't have all the, I have, because I have to filter this because it's a production site and I have to limit what I share. I'm going to do it in a series of screen shares of what it did or what it didn't recognize. For example, when it kept recognizing the trucks, it kept telling me the trucks were, they had their lights on, but they didn't. And it got it right. It said a white pickup truck with its lights on, but it didn't have its lights on. It keeps thinking the lights are on a truck, and I don't know why. But by the way, it says at the bottom of this one, it says a snowplow is clearing a path on the side of a snowy street with a car parked in a driveway and a house is visible in the background. I don't really see the snowplow. So maybe it sees something I don't over here, but it does see when you do vehicle with trailer, it does recognize that as a trailer. So it's actually picking it up as a trailer. And I think that's kind of funny. Hand truck or dolly. That's both words I've used. Yes. I think my grandpa always called him a hand truck. AI is full of hallucinations. Absolutely. It's not a perfect system. But in terms of the things it does really well, for example, if you said someone wearing a red hat, it was able to find all the people wearing a red hat. If you said people wearing a backpack, it found all the people wearing backpacks. You say hoodie, it found all the people wearing a hoodie. So if you have a description of something that you're looking for, it was able to go through the events and find it. And I thought that was a really cool feature. So I think UniFi is really stepping their game up with this feature. And I'm just really impressed by it. So I will probably have a video done next week on it because I'm just like, that is really cool. I am not running Ollama in my Homelab at this very moment, but I will be soon. I was running it, then I deleted it. Matt's running it. So if I consider Matt, because he works for me, part of my lab, then yes, but he's running it in his lab, so it's not in my lab. So now we're getting pedantic. Olama's awesome though. Yeah, there's a lot of the AI stuff is pretty cool. Now, back to something else I wanted to talk about. So let's go here, XO, because I think this is done. Yay, it is. Too many, let me close some of these tabs. I am also, and I don't know, maybe I'll get this done tomorrow morning. There's been a lot of confusion. Someone told me it's not supported, and I said, well, I'm doing it, so I know it's supported. This is pass-through, and so we'll type this here. So I have this set up, and actually, I was just setting this up, getting ready for the demonstration. This is my lab system. I've chose to do pass-through with I know it's an older card, but it's just what I plugged into the lab, a 1070. And then I'm going to, and let's fire it up over here. So first I'll make sure this VM boots as I just migrated it, and make sure it gets a, this is the VM I was using for RustDesk, and I'm going to show you how the pass-through thing works now. So cool, it boots. Make sure, see, to get an IP address. Yes, it did. All right, we'll shut it down. Good old Windows 11. I think you mean recertified drives, and I've bought a few recertified drives. I've not had a problem with them. I bought them from server part deals, and they seem to work. There we go. We're gonna do, this is what I wanted to do, and we're just doing it live here. First, I've not tried it. I literally loaded this machine just before I went live. So we're gonna pass through on this system, this. So hopefully, cross my fingers, it works. Let's find out. See if I got to do anything else. I've done a video on how to do this from the command line. Are you still using Ninja RMM? Yes, we are. Now, being Windows dumb, I got to look for a second. There's a device manager. Now, I don't know if the 1070 is allowed to be passed through. Aren't there some rules? And please, audience, help me with this, because this is where Tom's not always as smart. Aren't there rules about passing things through? Try updating the driver. Do I have to load the NVIDIA tools? I don't know. But you can pass through devices all through the UI now. So that's completely supported now in here. So it's now passing through this device, this right here. So it is definitely a supported feature now. If you want to do pass through, you can do it completely through the UI. I'm amazed you do a live stream on Windows. You're such a Linux advocate. Why are you using Linux software? Why aren't you? I don't understand your question. I'm running Linux. This is a virtual machine running Windows. I think they said the pass-through has some stability via XOA. Some what stability issue? You're passing through a device. AI usually gives is usually great as long as you approach it interaction with a healthy dose of skepticism. Yeah, it just spews garbage a lot. So that's it just gets things wrong. It just says wrong things randomly. You can do a pass-through of anything. You can't share a single GeForce device to multiple virtualized environments. That's exclusive to their enterprise GPU line. Okay. What open source DNS do you recommend for managing domains in my Homelab? Usually your firewall has DNS built in. I mean, Pi-hole is an option you can use for DNS. It's probably popular. There's another one that's got a weird name that the audience will throw in the comments, and I'll highlight if I see it. There are other ones out there. Pi-hole's probably the most popular. You have to share the video and audio of the display card. Oh, okay. So let's go do that then. See, I'm learning. Do you see? I'm not usually doing pass-through of general devices of things. My world is mostly spent in Linux, where this isn't something I need to do. So, right, that stopped. Go back over to the host. And if we look for, okay, it's just, I already see it right here. GPI 104 high definition audio. We can show how this works too. So when I pass this through, we're going to do this. It will reboot the lab. It lets you know because it's got to unlist it from the lab. It's going to restart this server. And once it restarts the server, we will have access to it. So we'll have to wait a minute while that reboots. Thank you for that tip. Unbound, AdGuard. Other people here, internal DNS for pfSense, but also Pi-hole for ad blocking. You tested XCMD pass-through briefly and tried to pass integrated graphics from N100 to PC to a VM, and it worked the first try. Very cool. The rule I'm thinking of is splitting. Okay, so it's splitting that's now. So pass-through 1-to-1 is a supported scenario. Got it. Okay. Let's see. I'll start pinging that system to know when it's back. Are you dropping pfSense and marketing UniFi Zone? No, I do both. I have more than one lab. This particular one has UniFi. The other one runs pfSense. So I'm still using both. As a matter of fact, we have lots of clients using both. It's more of to get the word out for people looking for good details on the Zone firewall. And I watched some people create videos that I thought were lacking, like they didn't have a lot of details. And I seen some people made videos that seem to have like not a misunderstanding, but they just made it too long. So I tried to figure out the happy middle to teach people about how the firewall rules work in there. Also, don't you have to make sure the host isn't loading a driver? Well, that's what we're doing here. So if we go to the hosts, hold on, gotta wait for it to, it's not there yet. As soon as the host comes back. All right, the host is back. What you're doing here, and this is why I probably do a video on it. This is blocking it out so the host doesn't get it. That's why the host need to reboot. So when you check this box, that's what that does. And now we can go back over to our Windows box. Advanced, go down here. Let's make sure we're passing through all of it. Attach PCI. Hit OK. And let's start this up. Now that we're attached both pieces through it, let's see if it works properly. The new needs of users make it necessary to system develop and improve themselves. We will somehow learn how to integrate artificial intelligence solutions into our systems. Maybe. That's optimistic thinking. For a long time, videos stopped supporting being in a VM that any longer. They added support back. Okay. Go to the device manager. Hey, look. We have the NVIDIA. So it works. Neat. Now, what's really cool, let's share this tab. It's actually outputting over here. So it's outputting on the, I have the Jet KVM connected to it. So it's identifying here. That's fun. So very cool. Is there a way to create HA with two servers, something like pure active? If you use the IX Systems hardware, yes. Yep, just like someone said right here. Hey, Tom, how do you manage the UniFi network for your daughter? Do you have an external multi-site controller? Nope, she's got one of the UniFi Expresses. All my friends that I manage them for, I have them set up on one of their UniFi like that, so I can remote into their system and manage it. So that's been my solution. Tailscale is not supported. Not inside of UniFi. You could hack it in there, but I don't think I'd recommend that. So officially, it's not supported and it's not likely to be. So I just run Tailscale on a Raspberry Pi. But no, this worked beautifully. So I'll do a video on this pretty soon. Does this work? Does it able to send keys? No, I don't think I have it plugged in to do that. That's completely a me thing. But it's working because if we identify the displays, this is one. And if we hit identify displays, that's two. So this works. Cool. But yeah, pass-through is fine. So I'll do that video tomorrow or tonight, depending on how I feel. But it works very well. We've got some clients using it. I like that they put it in the UI and it's dead simple now. So yay for pass-through. Now the next question, will this make RustDesk work any better? So here's RustDesk. Oh, a new version. Click to download. So let's try that too. Let's remove, fire up RustDesk. We use it for multiple sites and passing to our NVIDIA GPU to Blue Iris. Been pretty stable for over here. That's awesome. That's what I like hearing. So let's go ahead and I think this is the right computer. It is. Cool. Oh, nice. Yes, it's much faster. So now let me share it with the crowd. Let's see. Present. Share screen. We'll share. Yeah, that's the right one. All right, cool. I think about how to make that work. But I'd mentioned RustDesk supports multiple screens. So here's how you can see the other screen. I didn't show that in the demos. I didn't have any multiple monitor systems set up, but yeah. Whoops. Now I blanked it somehow. Now I broke it. Huh. It's not wanting to display screen 1 anymore. That's weird. But it works. Cool. All right. Well, that demo's functional. But I don't know why it won't let me go back to the other screen. Oh, now it's working. It just was stuck for a second, I guess. Okay, now I can go to screen. Let's try. This is going to be fun. Can we display both screens? Yeah, there we go. That worked. Neat. Also, you need to play around with GPU, adding GPU like via GPU option of VM. Hi, Tom. Is there any way to get pfSense OpenSense firewalls to work in HA with only one network cable, no managed switches between them? I have internet connection in each in the house. Kind of. You can find some hacky ways to make it work where you build out. If you only have one connection, well, no, you're still going to need a switch in front of them because you're not going to be, they have to share that WAN. So you have to have switches. You don't have to have managed switches, but you have to have switches on the WAN and switches on the LAN, or they're not going to be able to pass between each other. How do you manage the tons of different remote solutions that clients require to use to get remote access to automation controllers? For us to use a client requirement, they're paying us a lot of money. That's how. I don't have a better answer than that. So like we have some very large clients that we have to use their solution as opposed to ours. Everyone else, they use our solution because we're managing their network. But we do have a couple that like, hey, you need to use this tool to access it. It's locked down to certain systems, or you create a jump box for it. Is there any chance you make a video about layer 3 routing IP ACLs with UniFi switches? That feature is slowly getting implemented. So it's not a matter of me making videos or you not finding data on it. There's a lack of data on it, including because most of it doesn't exist. So there's not a lot there. And so there's not as much for me to talk about. Yeah, it looks like that because the resolution does not match on both screens. That is correct. But it's switching back and forth now. It just seemed to be stuck for a second where it didn't want to switch. But it works. The NVIDIA patch has been allowed since driver 465 before the workaround KVM was make it hidden and modify the vendor ID. Got it. Hey, awesome. Glad you can join. And I was just thinking about winding it down. It's been a couple hours here. It's been great talking to you. I don't know. Should I wind it down or should I keep going for a little bit longer? Should I keep going? Yeah, there's just not much information because there's a lack of anything. Oh, you only just noticed I was doing Q&A? Keep going. You just joined. Fair enough. I will keep going. Because I don't have anything. I don't have anywhere to be. My wife is hanging out with her friends upstairs, and I don't feel like doing that. So I'm hanging out down here with all of you. But I do need to get more water, and I will be right back after I grab some more water. So let me go ahead and throw my be right back up there. And I will, just like it says, be right back. There we go. Got my water. All right. I also threw in here, I threw UniFi, but one of the other questions I thought more people would have, I actually thought the video would be more popular for as many times as people have asked questions about it, was the how many views do I have on it now? The high availability of the UniFi is I still have my UniFi system set up in high availability mode, or one of them. I have a few of them in my lab. How do you securely run pfSense in large environments without next-gen firewall features? I've been watching to make the jump and not renew our Palo Alto for 24,000 just worries you. If you're talking about like all the filtering features, we do that on the clients. That's how. Matter of fact, this is one of the challenges I think a lot of people realize is the clients don't always sit behind a firewall anymore. We have this thing called work from home that is very popular here in the United States and many other areas. And when people are wandering around and they have their laptops and they're going, hey, I have wandered over to a completely different network. How are you going to filter this? Well, we use a tool called Zuros and many other tools that we have to really lock down how they're using the system. So that's our answer to how we do it in the business side. How often do you use RustDesk in real world? Are you happy with it? Would you look for something different in the future? Real world is my Homelab a real world? I don't know. My Homelab is a place where I need to access. Matter of fact, one of the reasons I've been using it more is I'm setting up some more Windows things to do some more Windows Server videos. I have a desire. I don't know about a desire. I want to answer people's questions, and I want to probably build some Windows Server and Active Directory stuff to show how it ties into like TrueNAS. So I said I need a way to easily access these, and I just don't want to do RDP. I can do RDP, but they're going to be scattered around. So I just started playing with RustDesk and go, oh, this is easy. I can just access these different systems like quickly with this. And also when I'm setting up things, I was setting up for a few friends some computers, and I was like, RustDesk. I just load it on there, and now I can access this computer and finish clicking next and yes a lot in Windows. Just set up RD Pro host, finalizing my client config packs. It's pretty neat. Pretty cool. I might even just buy the license for the RustDesk Pro because it looks cool, just to play with it, see what it looks like, you know? I have a mix and match of Ubiquity DACs along with 10G Tech and some FS.com. They're a hodgepodge of them. I mean, it's nice to have everything in one, but yeah. I have two interconnections. I have unmanaged switches between my two OpenSense firewalls. I have defined two gateways. Well, if you're trying to do a high availability setup, the way that works is high availability means there's going to be in the way it works in OpenSense or pfSense, the CARP system has an IP for each device, and then there's a shared IP, the VIP. That's the IP that everything should be connecting to. Or are you talking about how you're load balancing WAN? That's a different issue. No ability to customize the login templates, and OIDC doesn't let you to pull users ahead to set them up. So there's some limitations. Yes, I have a video on HA for pfSense. I did that video. It hasn't changed any. It's like a year or two ago. That's actually one of the other reasons it's nice doing some of the UniFi stuff. I look at the video and I said, if I were to redo the video today, I mean, maybe my production values increased a little. At least I like to think so. But the content would be the same because there hasn't been any major changes that would make me make a new video. Now, if pfSense has changes that make make me want to build a new video, I do some new videos, and I have redone some of them because there's been changes to the firewall. But to my knowledge, their HA is the same, so there's not anything new to add to that. It seems open source has become heavily based on Docker these days. Even TrueNAS has switched over. Have you checked out Dockage? Yeah, Dockage is neat. I have Dockage for a little bit. I played with it. I shrugged my shoulders, and then I started playing with Portainer, and I thought it was kind of neat. And mostly, I just do it from the command line. Maybe I don't know. I'm not understand. I actually seem to struggle more using Portainer than I do just doing it from the command line. Maybe I'm weird or old school. I don't know. But Portainer seems nice enough. But Dockage is fine. I mean, use whichever one you like. And I completely understand why people, from a delivery standpoint, why are you using, Docker for things? And it's just way easier than going through the complexity of setup. Like, if you look at all the steps and everything configured, being able to say, hey, package this as Docker and send, way easier than trying to tell people all the instructions to do it. Matter of fact, I have more than one Graylog video. My first Graylog video is before they offered Docker, and it's way longer and way more complicated. Docker's like, here's the Docker compose file. Set this up. Now let's get into the interface and start using it. What I actually want to ask is, do you prefer RustDesk when you need to provide remote support to your customers? No, we use a tool called Screen Connect for commercial businesses. And this is the tool we use commercially. They changed their website. It's been a long time since I looked at their website. But I've done videos on this. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Portainer. I don't know. I'm mixed on it. You know what I mean? Docker can come with its own security headaches as well. It depends on how it's done. I only use, in terms of like someone that I would trust, so to speak, is Graylog, for example, using it in production. Graylog actually is the one producing the Docker. Awesome. So you're pulling Docker from Graylog, which means you're fine. If you're pulling Docker because it's some rando who decides to update it, do you trust that random person who's updating it? For example, people are like, Tom, why don't you do videos on UniFi with Docker? Well, that's because there is no official Docker from UniFi. There is a third-party person who creates, in matter of fact, there's several people who make Docker images for it. I don't use them because, once again, it comes down to trust. I don't know the person building that. So, yes. Have you encountered a situation where subtask needs to be recorded over remote connections? How is RustDesk's case? I don't know. I haven't used any of the recording in RustDesk. It's a feature in Screen Connect, but I haven't used it in RustDesk. I guess I could just click record and see what it does. Record. All right. Where does RustDesk save the recordings? Now I have a new question. It says it records, but I don't know where it's saving it. I'm sure it's in the documentation that I did not read. So it has the option. Do you think pfSense or OpenSense will bring VRP, or are we stuck with CARP on those platforms? I think you're stuck with CARP on those platforms. With the next TrueNAS scale update looming, is there a way to migrate old VMs into the new VM system? I don't know. I haven't tried that. I'll have to see if it works. I'll build a VM and see if it migrates. I want to try set up traffic on my TrueNAS machine. Most of the documentation seems to focus on the K3 based TrueNAS. Seems like you can specify labels and pre-made apps, so it should be doable. Yeah, I've not tried it at all. Can CARP use IPs in the same range as the rest of the LAN, or am I better off just buying 2 cheap managed switches and use VLAN for CARP? You know, I think the way a lot of people do it is if you got 2 firewalls, you can have the sync be connected directly from one firewall to another without a switch at all. As VMware goes out of support, we've already migrated a lot of people over to XCP-ng. So yeah, that's been my go-to for the most part. And other people in here as well are big fans of XCP-ng. And that's what I was showing earlier is all this I'm doing is in XCP-ng. Turn this off. Shutting down. Because I want to back up my lab. Let's see. Yeah, I see people talking about they like Proxmox better for home. It's that debate of, which distro is the best distro, and people want to argue about it. I mean, whatever one works for you. I just migrated someone off of Proxmox to the problems they were having with it. They just didn't find it as stable. So I'm going to be doing a video about why we migrated. And it's just some of the quirkiness of Proxmox compared to XCP-ng. And this is a business. This is something moving terabytes and terabytes of data with a bunch of VMs. So definitely, something high. It is one of those things where it's not just like a Homelab environment. I'm going to get to show some more production level environment. All right, backup done. Backup restore. I want to make another copy of this on another machine. Let's see if this works. All right, seems to be doing its thing. Yay, restore working. Nope, nested virtualization. So there's a good use case for Proxmox. Nested virtualization is currently broken if you're using version 8.3. I've never had a problem with fast roaming. I leave it on. If you find devices that have a problem with it, maybe you turn it off, but all my devices don't seem to have a problem with it. I will admit, and this is completely unrelated to UniFi and 100% related to the way Apple systems work. Apple can be a real pain because for reasons that are only known to Apple engineers, they really, really want to stay on the same Wi-Fi. We had a client where we had to solve this, and it turned out it wasn't a UniFi issue. As a matter of fact, the write-up we found was a university who was all Meraki. And the university had said their solution was to turn off a bunch of features in the Apple. Now, when you turn off features, like I can't remember what they are, but they're the Apple AirPlay feature. If you turn it off, the apples will actually roam faster. And that was the solution that solved the problem. But they were blaming UniFi, but it turns out not to be a UniFi problem. Yeah, some older devices do hate roaming, haven't encountered it. It's a pretty old device that doesn't support it, generally speaking, not all the time. So now we're going to do this because what I want to do is go to advanced and we're going to build I'm not doing it live in case anyone's wondering. We will pass through the GeForce to the VM here, and then I'll set up Olama on it. At least that's my plan. See how that works. Actually, you know what I should do? Oh, cool. I got a Delta backup of this. So, because I have Pop OS running right somewhere. I don't need this one. Let me kill this run. Oh, past you was definitely reasonable proxies. It's fixed in 8.3. 8.3 is kind of new, so I had some other bugs behind. Okay, yeah. Because I'm showing all the past you right now. Any skills you recommend before trying to get a job at an MSP? Depends what your position and what job you're applying for. I mean, we have network engineers, so if we were hiring for that position, you should have networking skills. If you're just a general level 1 tech, the biggest thing with most MSPs is they do so many things. So you have to have a wide variety of skills in order to do things. That's the best. The more you can prove that you have this like broad skill set, like I have fixed MSPs are servicing small businesses. There's a lot of small businesses using QuickBooks. So if you have experience with QuickBooks, you have some good people skills because is you're not like regular IT when you're an MSP, you're outside IT. So you have to like deal with and talk to people and everything else. So yeah, there's still a lot of those. I was talking about it earlier. I might wait till it hits release candidate before I review it. I've been testing it though. I think I did a video on it a while ago. There's not much that's changed in terms of migrating from core to scale. Their instructions worked. I've talked to several people that have done it. I haven't had any to do, and I haven't really taken the time to set up a new one. So yeah. Can't wait for Fangtooth to come out. Yeah, I'm excited what they're doing with Fangtooth for sure. Tom Pop OS. Let's first start it here, and before I make a backup of it, I always like to update it. You're gonna log off. Thanks for the Q&A. Glad to have you. Always fun to ask answer some questions. Been using Proxmox agent. I'll admit though, I was starting off from scratch now. XP better would be the way to go. Fangtooth is the latest name given to, and I don't think I have it pulled up anymore. So let me log back into it. It's the latest name of the release by TrueNAS. Fangtooth. It's their beta release right now. Beta 1. But so far it's worked well. Yeah, TrueNAS Scale's upcoming release. There's little, changes here and there. One of the changes I definitely like is that you can throw the apps right in the dashboard. So you can go, hey, I'd like to view this. And like I threw glances on here and I can just switch to it really quickly. Go back over here. If we wanted to go to net data, click on that. It pops open a new window and we can go right over to the net data. Have you tested Alta Labs with pfSense? Yeah, it works fine. I've tested Alta Labs with UniFi and pfSense and it works. I don't have anything I dislike about Alta Labs, but I also don't look at it and I'm not amazed by it going, wow, this is the solution I'm looking for. I don't have anything against them, but it's not a compelling solution compared to what's out there. Can you suggest I have an entire playlist that would be a learning sequence for that. I've got a getting started with XCPNG and I've got a lot of other videos on like how their backups work and everything else. So I have a lot of tutorials on XCPNG. Their documentation is good as well. Yeah, overall, the XCPNG stuff's been good. Let's see here. Trying to click update in the background here while I'm doing this. You can run mini update. You can run XCP-ng on mini PCs. That is very true. I've run several mini PCs with XCP-ng, and I was really impressed with how well they worked. Hitting all these updates. Are you using XCP-ng for production too? Yes, we have some very large customers using XCP-ng for production as well. Works well. Can't complain about it. Well, I could complain, but I would, if I had complaints, I'd just go talk to developers about fixing whatever issues I had with it. All right, let's go ahead and run the backup. So I can do a restore on the other system. Now I could do a clone and migrate. That works as well. So clone, migrate, backup, restore. I just like testing the backups. So I should be able to do this and choose lab as a destination. Lab local, or do I got to choose? Hold on. Yeah, that one right there. This should work in theory. Awesome, it's working. I run 8.3 for production now. I mean, we have some clients that are probably still on 8.2. We just haven't switched them, but I don't have any problem running 8.3 for production. This is the one point though, right here. If you're using ExoStore, ExoStore is technically is in beta on 8.3. It's not in full release yet. I don't even know how to answer. People ask that question. What is the most serious problem that you restored? I don't know. I fixed all kinds of things. I don't know that I like rank them and whatnot. I mean, I've had to fix people from ransomware. I've had to fix restored backups because people goof things up. I don't, how did I solve it? I restored from backup is usually the answer. I found the random network cable someone plugged in and created a loop in their network. There's always some weird thing I've done. I don't really rank order them. 25 years in tech, I've seen a lot. But my curiosity was, so I want to go and do Pop OS, Tom Pop OS pass through. Actually, we'll just call it GTX. Because I want to pass through to the VM because I was testing RustDesk and it was really slow. So I think it has to do with not having the GPU. So let's see if we attach a GPU, if it works better. I'm just curious because it was just really slow. So let's see if this makes it faster. Yeah, I guess this is a fair one. I mean, we had someone recently purge all their VMs. So that was a thing that happened. They just disconnected and broke everything. Oh, I already got this attached here, so that won't work. That explains all those errors. If you attach something on pass-through, don't turn on 2 VMs with it attached. It'll error out. There we go. Display settings seem faster now. Cool. I don't think I need to load any drivers here. Actually, let's try this. So if we go sudo git install, is it NV top? See if it sees it. Yeah, there you go. Recognizes it, so it works. Yeah, our solution is to avoid the VDI association. So we name each VDI info with its VM OS and drive in the description. Yeah. I've not used Aruba Instant On, but there's still people who like it. So, you know, there's people out there that's a solution they like. So if you like that solution and you don't mind their cloud system, then it's a workable idea. Cool. Now I can throw RustDesk on this and be able to connect to it. And it should work relatively fast. That's my theory, anyways. You could probably easily write a script to do that, where you would identify the storage and have a script that says, hey, just throw this here. I just don't run into that as a problem very often, because pretty much anyone we set up with XCP-ng, we're also like their backup system is going to be the XO backup system. Therefore, it's not super relevant. But if you have a use case for that, yeah, you could script it probably, because you can just run the XE tools and export the list of VDIs. Download. Whoops. I want better access to this. So download Ubuntu, sure. Boy, this is slow. And this is the I don't usually use this. I'm just doing it so you guys can see what I'm doing. Normally I would not. Damn it. I'm aggravated. We're just doing it this way. Deep. Just install it from the command line where I can actually type fast and not have it stuck. All right, cool. It's installed. I should be able to find it here. You're ready, but you're not, because we need to go here. Network. Put in my relay server. I think that's right. I'll know in a second. Hit OK. Successful. Says ready. Awesome. Fantastic. Now I can connect to it. Actually, I want to set a password. Security. Oh, unlock. Sure. I want to enable that. We're going to use a permanent password. Okay. I think I got a good password. And we should be able to connect now. In theory. Five, 3, 6, 042, 716. Yay, it works. Now the question is it faster? Nope, still kind of laggy. I've had this problem before of it just being kind of laggy inside of Linux VMs. Would it make sense to have a relay server inside your home? Would it make? I have the relay server inside my home one, so yes. Is there a way to connect RustDesk to a self-hosted server from command line instead of through GUI? Probably. I haven't looked. I think there's probably a way to do it. With the pro version, yes. Okay. So yes, there's options to do this. Now, what's interesting is look at the CPU usage on this thing. Now that I turn that on, it doesn't seem to control at least Pop! OS very good. I don't know the answer to that. There's probably some tweak setting I can do, but I can't believe how much CPU it's using. But I never needed to control Linux desktops. This was more of a thought experiment than anything else. If I close it, does it stop? Nope, it's still sucking up lots of CPU. Look at the CPU usage on this thing just to get this open. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to shut it off. Power off. Bye-bye. Yeah, just shut it down. It's just wasting CPU cycles at this point. Afternoon. Yeah, it runs great with Windows. It just doesn't seem to work with it just doesn't seem to work great with the Pop! OS. I don't know. Some people said it works better with Ubuntu, but yeah. You're an ex-engineer from AnyDesk. A few years, RustDesk was looking pretty cheap clone. Now it looks like it'd be a real competitor. Security protocol optimization is still the case. Yeah, I don't know how good the security is on it. I could really use a code review, but yeah, it seems interesting. Stuck on a debate, needing HA routers for my office, debating between pfSense and UniFi. I'm pretty happy with the UniFi stuff, but I still like pfSense as well. Because especially when it comes to like the VPN, the granular control you get of VPNs inside of pfSense is far better than the control you get inside of UniFi, is what it is. Yeah, HA is a lot more complicated on pfSense. The fact that you need to use several public IPs sometimes is a non-starter for people going, no. That's where it stops, is using multiple public IPs. And I'm like, yeah, well, that is a thing. Now I need to get Olama set up on this. I don't think I'm finishing that today. Really? An icebreaker in Antarctica's Ross Sea. That is awesome. How's the internet over in the Ross Sea? Hold on, just where is the Ross Sea? I don't know the answer to this. I just need to pull it up on maps, I think. So the Ross Sea. Google gives me a very vague idea. It doesn't give me directions there. Hold on, I'll share it in a second once I get this sorted. Where does it think? I guess it's this area here. This is not a particularly well documented area. That's interesting that you are able to work there. So Starlink is a hell of a drug. Yeah. UniFi is great. However, need 1-1 adding. pfSense does great 1-1 adding, but you mentioned HA is wonky. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you have a need for a feature it doesn't have, then I don't know how to solve the problem with the wrong firewall. What do you use to monitor your Homelab kit? I've used 2 devices, Free and Pulsewave, but my Homelab has expanded a lot since then. Uptime Kuma. I send some pings to make sure things are up. So I don't really have that much in terms of monitoring. You played with Wazoo. I deployed it, ran it for a month. Any update broke it. Any other open source to replace it? No, that's the problem. I think the open source ones updates are hard. Hell, even the closed source ones, the updates are hard, but they generally, we're using Bloom Air right now and they've done a solid job. But yeah, there's definitely some challenges if you do those updates. I've heard other people talk about it. I don't know the solution. They offer commercial support, but there's really not much else out there. It's amazing Wazoo gives as much as they do away for free because SIM stuff is expensive and it's complex. It's a really complicated system. So with the complexity of the system, you're like, yeah. I don't have a better answer. I'm trying to think of the firewall. I don't know. I guess if you really need 1-to-1 NAT, I guess I don't need 1-to-1 NAT. That's why it's not a problem for me, but I don't think there's any way to do, or is there? I thought there's a way to turn NAT off now. Protocol, destination. I feel like they added a feature to be able to do that. I'm looking in the UniFi. I don't see anything. They have some features where I know there's some advanced features you can do in NAT now that wasn't there before, but I don't know what they are. Is there an option? Nope, I don't see it. Nothing I can see. So I don't have an answer for that. Have you heard any rumors about a UDM Wi-Fi 7 or cloud gateway with SFP ports? I don't know. I don't really follow the rumors. I know there's lots of people who deal in rumors on Reddit because they dig around and look at upcoming things that UniFi's got because they'll look at like FCC registration when they have to do the testing. But yeah, I don't really look too much in that. But I will wind it down here. My wife said she would like something for dinner. And so I do have to go address that because I want dinner too. So we're both going to go address dinner. Hopefully this was a fun live stream for me as it was for all of you. I definitely had, it was for you as it was for me. I said that backwards. I'm a little tired now. I've been talking for 2 hours and 46 minutes. Thank you all for joining. It was awesome. I've left the email address up here, homelab@lawrencesystems.com, for anyone that wants to email me or contact me. How quick are NetGates to reboot for pfSense? The 8300, I think they don't have long BIOS screens. Now the super micro ones were a little bit longer, but I don't remember. I didn't timed it. They don't spend a lot of time hanging out on the BIOS display screen. The super micro did a little bit. So those ones took a little bit longer to reboot, but I think the new ones don't take near as long. But I don't remember. I didn't time it. Email Netgate, they probably have an answer. They probably know how long they take to boot. So yeah, I remember it being like a minute. It's not it's not egregiously bad. Maybe a minute or two. The UniFis take. I almost feel like the UniFi takes a little bit longer to boot up. The enterprise firewall, it's got like a 3-minute boot time, right? Roughly 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, I don't. That's not terrible, but it's 3 or 4 minutes of downtime when you have to reboot it. There's a weird video. Me setting up a bunch of firewalls and just stop watching how fast they take to, from on to ping. That would be the question. So. But thank you very much all hanging out. And I'm going to bounce out now before I get into answering more questions or doing stuff. So thanks everyone for joining. Forums.lawrencesystems.com, homelab.lawrencesystems@lawrencesystems.com, or reach out to me on whatever socials that I'm on at lawrencesystems.com. Later.